Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the studio. You join us here at the 36th Annual Jalsa Salana, Australia at Rosehill Gardens Racecourse. Now, a lot of you viewers are watching this from home and a lot of attendees are watching this indeed in the proceedings as we speak. Now, there's a lot that goes behind the scenes to be able to get this message and get the message of Jalsa Salana out to our viewers. And to help shed some light on that, we are joined here today in the studio by the Nazim of Audio Video and MTA, Mahmood Shah Saab. Assalamu alaikum, Mahmood Saab. Thank you very much for joining us.
Wa alaikum salam, Gazafar.
Excellent. Now, Mahmood Saab, as I mentioned in this intro, there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes to get us ready and prepared and to get this message of Jalsa Salana out to our viewers and also to the attendees who attend in person. Now, can you take us through a bit of the preparation work that goes into Jalsa Salana?
Yeah, so obviously from the time when the 2023 Jalsa Salana concluded, we have a debriefing session to see the good things that came out of it, but also the bad things. The things where we were not successful and different. It goes into the Red Book. And the whole idea is to prepare for the following Jalsa, which was this Jalsa. So that happens. But then this venue is a bit different compared to how we had to run the Jalsa Salana in the Marquis in Baitul Huda Mosque. So about 2 months out, we start talking about the programs and how we're going to interconnect everything. The preparation of the studio itself here and all the other departments. So that basically starts 2 months ago, and then we follow on from there.
So every year that we've been in this venue, it's third year now, there's always been a difference in where we are, where we're located, where's the main Jalsa Gar, where are Lajna going to be. Each of these changes then involves a change from your planning perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So funny you say that. So we're on level 2 of the pavilion. Our Jalsa Salana in this venue started in 2022. So 2022 we were here, but it was in a smaller scale. In 2023 we were about 600 meters away from here in the expo hall where Lajna is at the moment. And this year we're back into the pavilion, but a larger venue, right? And then obviously there's challenges there as well. So in terms of now what we've done in terms of technicality, we try to do most of our work in-house, obviously to save Jamaat's money as well. So Lajna Hall is the expo hall, which is 600 meters away.
How do you get that? So we're filming, we're live in the studio,
yeah.
we're filming in the message of the main speeches and all the proceedings of Jalsa. How are they being shared with Lajna 600 meters away?
Yes, that's definitely. So we're in the studio. Adjacent to this is our production team. And from there, 600 meters, we've run a fiber all the way to the expo hall. We were conveying it. And obviously, that's our main feed, but we have a backup feed through vMix as well. Right? Excellent. So we don't want, if one fails, we have a backup to that as well. But also, in terms of this, like I said, in this pavilion, it's a bigger venue. And this year, same as last year, we ran 4K production for the live Jalsa Salana, but even the studio is in 4K as well. Wow. So what we've done is, in certain cases, there's limitations in cables. So now what we've done internally, certain areas, we've run fiber as well.
Wow.
Right.
So the benefit of running in 4K versus what were we doing previously?
Well, in previous years, obviously it's been HD, but we're going to move on with the technology. Right? So the beauty of it is a technological field that we're in. We want to give the best to our viewers. Right? So this year, even the studio, together with Jalsa Gar, they're all in 4K this time. And to facilitate 4K, obviously you have to change your system. Right? We have to have different cables, like I mentioned, we have to run fiber to delimitation of the coaxial HDI cables.
Do we have to upgrade the rest of the equipment along with the cables to
suit
this?
Yeah, and definitely. This is a progression. It doesn't happen overnight. So obviously all the cameras in Jalsa Gar were upgraded, but the studio cameras we upgraded this year. Right? And the beauty of this is, it's just the team that we have. It's not based in Sydney. Right? We have a team that's based in Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide, Perth, and ACT, Canberra. So it's not that we've just come together and gelled in. We communicate throughout the year in terms of all the production that we do, even locally and for MTA International. Right? So we all know each other, but when they come here, this is not a training ground for them. They've already been trained. Right? We just come here and we all gels together and we work together.
So the team from all over Australia come together for Jalsa Salana and everyone's helping out with all the duties.
Yeah, definitely. You would love to have a bigger team. So this Jalsa Salana, obviously we have about 20 people. There is about 6 or 7 people that come from interstate, and the rest are from Sydney. And every time you want to have a bigger team because we want to better ourselves, right? So yeah, that's the challenge. But I think in this Jalsa Salana we have around 20 people. They're doing great, and yeah, interconnecting with everyone.
So within the Jalsa and the team of MTA, what are the departments that get looked after? You know, our viewers may only see the feed that's coming from the stage, and they may see the cameras on the floor, but what else goes on behind the scenes that they may not be aware of?
Yeah, so we've segregated the department. We put team leaders in there. So obviously the studio is run by yourself. There's archiving. So we've brought basically just to touch, we brought everything that is in Baitul Huda MTA's studio into this area. Everything basically.
So we strip all the equipment
We've stripped
out.
all the equipment.
We load it up, we bring it to this
I
venue.
think the only thing we left there is the cabling.
Yeah.
So even the whole editing suite, it is inconvenient, but that's the way it goes. So in terms here, so even our editing suite, the live mixing that's happening there, is been taken out of the mosque, right? So it's the archival system, the storage device. We have a main system there. Obviously, it can't be taken. We have a backup system on the NAS drive. We've brought that here, and then we create another backup on that. So we try to minimize risk. That's the whole idea. Right? We have a streaming here as well. We have our live mixing of the studio and the live mixing of Jalsa Salana. The photography, we've catered that in our department as well.
Wow. So there's a lot going on in the team.
There's a lot going in there, yeah, definitely.
Even in terms of the archiving, that's an interesting point you mentioned. So we're now recording in 4K for the last couple of years, now 4K across the board this year, by the grace of God. So does that change how you back up the system? Are we using more space? How often do we have to be bringing the data back?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, the data is much bigger than before, right? But we streamlined that process. I think we have our internal IT person who really does help us in terms of making the speed faster for backup. So this year, I think the positive is because of the speed of uploading to our storage device is much faster. So from what I'm seeing between sessions, all the cards are ready for our camera people and our live editors.
How much space do you think over the 3 days Jalsa will take in terms of photography, video, the whole shebang?
Oh, that's a good question.
Estimate.
It's something that I haven't cared. I mean, I think we ran into trouble last year. So, like I said, we have to streamline. Last year we did 4K DCI, which we are not at the moment. So we've just gone with the UHD, and it's a compromise to some extent as well because the data becomes too unmanageable. Yeah. So Jalsa Salana is the only one we are filtering that in now into other programs as well, the Khilafat Day or Muslim Old Day. But this is the main one at the moment.
So for our viewers at home, whose laptop might, be a couple hundred gig, relative to that, what's your estimate? Like, what do you think this year?
I think our storage will still go up to 10 tera.
10 terabytes for this one event.
Yeah, it's for one event, Jalsa Salana. Because you've got to remember, there's a lot of recording. There's a studio recording, there's outside recording, there's just Sagar recording, all the interviews we're conducting as well.
Yep.
Right, so they're all done in 4K as well. So yeah, I think it'll be pretty close to 10 tera. Yeah,
wow, that's 10,000 gigabytes for those.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah,
near enough. Now, outside of Jalsa, what are some of the other responsibilities of MTA?
Yeah, so outside of Jalsa Salana itself, I mean,
like, do we take the year off, or
I wish. I think this department, the way we run is, we can't take time off. Obviously, we're all volunteers. This is not our profession. We have our own profession. There are a couple of guys within our team, through the blessing of MTA, have started their own business, alhamdulillah. But most of us are not and this is not our profession. We have accountants, we have engineers, yourself, which is not your field as well.
Yeah, look,
but
it's a great point that you mentioned, that the team itself, even the 20 people, we've got some students who are still at university, we've got people in all walks of life who have been doing this now for several years, and by the grace of God, they have to learn. They have to learn on the job. They have to learn the technicalities of their trade, and then each year try and improve. So, what do you do to encourage that in your team to try and upskill them in the training?
Yeah, I think the beauty of this team is that most of the guys that we got started, they're all at the age of about 15 years old, and 20 years later, 25 years later, they started. The core part of the members are still there. So the skill set is there from the past 20, 25 years. And then we have new members that are coming in, right? They are, again, the same age, roughly 15, 16 years old. So the knowledge is being passed on to the younger generation. And I'm hoping, inshallah, that the team we held for 10, 15, 20, 25 years, we will continue that. And just to answer your other question, obviously when Jalsa Salana happens, we'll wind down from here, we'll go back, and the post-editing starts. So we're very focused, and I think this is not just the work of Sydney, this is the work of South Australia, Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide, where we do make a lot of MTA international news. So that will be another segment that we will continue. So we don't rest. So every week we will go, and obviously Jalsa Salana UK is coming, right, in 2 weeks' time, where we will engage again with all our team members interstate. And we will have a gathering as instructed by our beloved Huzur, where people will be watching Jalsa Salana UK, and we will be streaming live from here as well.
Excellent. So there's a lot that the team does throughout the year with the Jamaat programs, even the various Jalsa where we get instructed, we facilitate our local members to be able to watch that at the mosques and the namaz centres as well. So with these things, as we mentioned also earlier, that over the years some technology has changed and we've updated it, but what would you term over your time in MTA, what are some of the main changes that you've seen come through in terms of technology to be able to keep up to date with everything?
Yeah, I think it's funny. I think with technology, everything improves. It actually does make it easier. I mean, you got to cast your mind back where we were getting audio cassettes, right? Then we went to a video cassette VHS system. Then there were DV cams. These were technology that was making a flow restricted. So technology actually helps. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. And now everything is digitized.
Yeah, I noticed there's hard drives outside.
Yeah, there's hard drives, so there's no tape system. So I think in terms of a workflow, it actually helps us, right? So it's better. I don't see a negative, I see a positive in there.
In terms of the equipment that we're using for these events now, I noticed that there's also, where possible, we try and use the bulk of our own equipment, like you mentioned. But to facilitate those gaps, do we have to obtain equipment from outside sources?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I mentioned earlier, it's not a thing. It's not a decision that you make overnight. It's a planning that you do 5-10 years in advance.
Yeah, wow.
So in our case, the camera system is being upgraded gradually, right? And the good thing about this is, it hasn't happened overnight. It comes from previous years as well. And this venue, and this is the biggest challenge we have. We have only one day to bump in.
Wow.
Right? It's just the contractual system of this place. So we will come in one day before, Thursday. We will come in 7:30 a.m. and our bump hour is at midnight the same day. So you got to imagine our 95, 90, 100% of the work needs to be completed that day. The overflow, Jalsa Salana obviously starts from Jummah, so we have a few hours the next day as well.
Wow.
But the entire program needs to be set up. So yes, there has to be a lot of planning.
A lot of planning.
Yeah, you can't. And the thing, the fascinating thing is, these are all sketched out. Like I was speaking to our editors, the live editors, right? They have to draw everything out in terms of how the cabling will go, because it's not something you can just go to a shop and buy it. It's not a place where you can hire it. And if you purchase online, it will take a couple of days. So it has to be planned out where we have every single equipment. Like for example, all our visual displays out here are run on 4K. So our old cablings have become redundant, our old converters have become redundant. So you have to facilitate everything on the flow to make sure that everything is there. Yeah. Because we don't get a second chance.
Correct.
So it's an integration. Bulk of our equipment are ours. There are certain things that we hire, but there are certain things we have upgraded, like little things that can have a massive impact in our program. That's so we make sure that everything is available to us well before Jalsa Salana starts.
Yeah, it's a lot of work goes into it, doesn't it? Especially in that one day bump in, like you mentioned. We the whole team is here at 7:30, and everyone works tirelessly, and it's very different than I remember it being when, say, we were at Masjid Bayt al-Huda, where we had some time. Everyone could come in on the afternoons or weekends, a week or two in advance to try and set up things. So what are the main changes that you've noticed between doing Jalsa at Masjid Bayt al-Huda versus doing it at Rose Hill?
Yeah, I mean, either way, I think the main thing, if you're in the technological field, is you adapt to whatever is given to you. So obviously that was positive when we used to do in a marquee in Jalsa Salana, in Bayt al-Huda. The good thing was a month before the marquees were erected. So you have time to play around with it, right? So if there's something we're missing, you can easily go and hire or buy it. The challenge here is you don't have that flexibility. So the positive out there was obviously a month before you're starting to lay out your infrastructure. But here you don't have that flexibility. But the good thing here is if you plan well, yes, it is an intense whole
Yeah.
day work, but you can manage to finish the whole day, the entire setup in one day.
Yeah, with the right
Right.
planning, it's a very efficient day, although it's a long one. But
Yes, it's a
we're
long
quite
one, yeah.
effective.
And like I'm saying, it's not something that we just come here to on the one day and start working. The team that I have, whether it be interstate or locally, we've known each other for the past 20, 25 years.
Yeah,
So our understanding is there.
for sure.
So that's a good thing, I think.
Excellent. Now, does everything go smoothly on when we're doing over the 3 days of Jalsa? You know, like in terms of the equipment that we're using and the technology, or or is there some do we have hiccups?
With technology, nothing goes smoothly. And and the bad thing is, whenever things don't go smoothly, everyone witnesses it. It's not something that you hide away. Obviously, we have had issues, but my main objective is whenever we have issues, we need to identify it. We need to identify it. We need to rectify it. It's not something we sit on, and it's not something that I love to see at the end of the day. Right? So yeah, of course there are problems, and we try to fix it. Some are not fixable for whatever reason. But the main thing is, at least we tried. We tried for our viewers. We tried to give the best outcome to them. So I think that's the main thing we try to do.
That's great. It's good to see that we're always trying our best. Even in a couple of days that we've been here, I've noticed some power packs may have failed. Something might have tripped. So we do have backups and redundancies in place. There is some extra equipment where available, right? And we always, like you mentioned, your objective is to ensure that the team improves and learns on any learnings that can be had. And in your personal opinion, the team itself, over the years that you've been looking after, do you think that there has been those improvements that you've been looking for every year?
Yeah, and I think that's the great thing about a team, right? It's not about an individual. It's always been about the team itself. So I think the main thing is, over the years, as long as we are evolving as a team, I think that's the main thing. Problems will always happen. Right? I've never worked in MTA where we don't have problems. But the main thing is we learn, we evolve, and we move forward. Yeah. So I think that's the best thing we can do. The problem that we have facilitated, or the problem that we have had in this Jalsa, in next Jalsa, well, we will improve. What that does, I think, to individual, we never become complacent, never become lazy in what we do. Yeah. Right? We have to be energetic. We have to rectify whatever we come across. And complacency is the worst thing in life, right? So sometimes when problem does happen, when we get feedbacks, we even respect our MISAP tells us something. And this happened months away from Jalsa Salana. It could have been another program. And he may ignite something. And that's a good thing. Right? Feedbacks are never negative. They're positive things. So he may ignite something that creates a discussion within our team. And it has in this scenario. But respect and MISAP said something. Through his advice, we've had a lot of, and you would know, a lot of virtual meetings, physical meetings that we've had before this Jalsa Salana, discussing the points that was identified months ago.
It's always about the improvement, right? And as you mentioned, feedback is a gift, not a curse, right?
Yeah,
so we learn from it every year. We improve and we try and better ourselves. Even in terms of the changes in the team throughout the year, I've noticed that streaming, although we've been doing it on and off for several years, it's something that you've put a lot of emphasis on, to have that continuous stream from every day, every session, right? To be able to give our viewers a continuous link to be able to connect to Jalsa Salana.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think what we got to do, and you mentioned this, every time an event happens, such as Jalsa Salana, your benchmarks has to increase every year. In the early days when our beloved Huzur came in 2006 and then 2013, we worked together with MTA International. And from there, I think, in terms of our studio program directly, the workload is increased. The broadcast times that we do on YouTube has increased. I think this year has been the highest, right? So I think it's a good thing. Through the years, through progression, we have increased the broadcast times. And yeah, of course, that's why I'm saying complacency is the worst thing. We have to challenge ourselves, right? We have to increase the hours of work. It's all about viewership, right?
Correct.
Right? So it's all about our members here. We're trying to get them the experience that we do, share the experience with them.
What's up? To wrap up this interview, What's something that drives you? What inspired you to dedicate so much time, enroll, and encourage and mentor your team to continue giving the same amount of effort that we see every year? It feels non-stop.
Yeah, I always say, I mean, so the things that we do for MTA, it's not for ourselves, right? We know the ultimate blessing is from God, so we do for the sake of Allah. So and that's something I try to thrive in my team. So it's not about us. It's not about the individuals. It's for the sake of Allah that we come in every week, whether it be Jalsa Salana, whether it be all the other programs, whether it be post editing, whether anything that MTA International requested from us. It's never about us, right? When we pray, we're praying to seek the blessing of Allah. And MTA work, Jamaat work, it's always the same thing. It's always to seek the pleasure of Allah. And I think that's the main thriving thing. And also I always motivate my team. Your guidance always comes from our beloved Huzur.
Of course.
Right? And I think every time Huzur mentions in the Friday sermons, and whether he's talking about the companions of the Holy Prophet, there's always contents there that you can bring into yourselves. So every day the guidance is there from our beloved Huzur. So I think these are things that can always motivate you, energize you. It's never, every time when I come to to MTA, it's not like I've been coming here, this is my 20th year, or my 25th year. This is my first day. So the attitude has to be, this is your first day, right? And that erases your complacency. It's your first day, and you work from there. Because when you go to your new job as a first day, what do? You're not lazing around, right?
No, you're working just as hard as you possibly can.
So that's the whole idea. Even though we've been here for so long, you got to strive forward all the time, and all your guidance is there from your beloved Huzur.
Thank you very much for joining us. That inspiration, that driving factor that you do, obviously reflects in your team, and may God bless all of our efforts going forwards and in the following years as well.
Jazakallah very much. Thank you for giving me the time as well. Thank you.